When you think of your wildest author dreams, if you were living the author life that you really want the most, what would be important to you? Fans, lots of readers, fortune, lots of money, freedom, or fulfillment? I've been proposing that question in the writer's block community, link below, writer's block community lately. And one of the most popular answers is, of course, fulfillment. So I wanted to take an opportunity to dig a little deeper into what does fulfillment mean. This has been a really important part of book coaching is what do you want? What does success mean to you? What does fulfillment mean to you? And I think when we break it down into those components, fans, fortune, freedom, fulfillment, then we can get really honest with ourselves, even if it's just in our own journal. So what direction am I going in here? Because getting clarity around fans, fortune, freedom, or fulfillment, man, that really changes the strategy with which you write your book and what you plan to write. So recently, I was listening to an interview with Robert Waldinger. He has a book coming out called The Good Life, which has just a lot of sponsorship behind it. His books have been selling a lot since the pandemic. He's a Harvard professor. He's been studying happiness and fulfillment for decades. And when I was listening to this interview, he kind of had 5 points. He calls some of it the macro nutrients of fulfillment. And the first thing that occurred to me is that this is the opposite of what we usually think will be fulfilling. And so when you're writing your book, fulfillment is actually the one thing you have access to right now, except that we usually think the opposite kind of emotions and feelings and keys and essential ingredients. We think it's the opposite of what it really is. And personally, I think these 5 elements, these 5 essentials of fulfillment are going to bring you success in every single aspect of writing. And it's going to be really hard to finish a book without these. And so I just wanted to share what I learned from Robert Waldinger, because if you have a regular writing practice, you can achieve fulfillment now. And then as you incorporate these essential ingredients of happiness or fulfillment into your daily practice, more fulfillment sprouts from there. And what sprouts from fulfillment? Fans, freedom, and fortune. And so really, I want everybody who listens to this YouTube channel, subscribes to this YouTube channel, I want you to be on these secrets, because they're the opposite of what you think. And oh my goodness, it's just going to make the whole road easier. You'll no longer feel like you're waiting for gratification. You'll no longer feel like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What if something I hear a lot, what if I waste all this time writing a book and don't achieve fulfillment? This is the road. This is the path. This is how you bake it into the book, and it makes the book better. So I feel that I have done a exciting intro. I've really put all of my enthusiasm into this. So let's get into these 5 elements. First of all, the first ingredient of fulfillment is enjoyment. And enjoyment is different from happiness. This is brain science breaks this down, and I find it fascinating. Enjoyment is different than pleasure. I'm going to contrast enjoyment and pleasure here, and then you're going to really see why it's so important to the process of writing your book. So pleasure is a chemical signal in the brain. We can get it from alcohol, we can get it from drugs, we can get it from slot machines, we can get it from TikTok. If we get dopamine, if we get a quick hit of dopamine, then we've got pleasure. The only thing is, especially when we get a dopamine dump, that happens, with certain kinds of drugs, with certain kinds of experiences. Pleasure can foster addiction because if we get the dopamine dump without what I'm going to explain as enjoyment, we keep looking for more. We keep looking for more. We become kind of like those rats in a maze where we just want the hit, want the hit, want the pellet, want the pellet. Now, the difference between pleasure and enjoyment is with enjoyment, we bring in a human element of understanding. The way the brain scientists explain that is we bring it from the back signal of just pleasure to the prefrontal cortex, and then we understand why we like this. We understand why we are enjoying a picnic with our family. We understand why we are enjoying the creative process. It's really weaving ourselves, our identity, our relationships, our memories into the experience of happiness and fulfillment. And so Robert Waldinger talks about 3 different elements that bring fulfillment and happiness. The first is enjoyment, not pleasure. The second is satisfaction. So I like thinking of this in terms of gratification. There's instant gratification and there's deferred gratification. So as we were talking about with pleasure and enjoy, the difference between pleasure and enjoyment, now we're just building on that. So instant gratification is just the sugar high. Eat a lot of sugar, get high, and then all of a sudden you need more and more and more, and it creates a downward spiral. That is the problem with instant gratification and why it doesn't lead to sustainable happiness. Satisfaction is what we get after deferred gratification, after putting something of ourselves into a project, a relationship, life, and then we get this gratification afterward, and that creates sustainable, non-addictive happiness that grows and matures over time. So the second, what Robert Waldinger calls macronutrients of fulfillment and happiness, is satisfaction over instant gratification. And this is where there was a really great point that I think is so important for authors to know. So this is kind of a point B under the satisfaction heading, and that's arrival fallacy. And so often we believe that we will be completely fulfilled when we get a publishing contract, when we get a Booker Prize, when we get the money to sustain our livelihood with our self-published series. We think that once we get there, we will be happy. And here's where arrival fallacy comes into play, because once we get there, once we achieve the thing, we're in homeostasis. And one thing that makes for really healthy happiness is progress, progressing to something. Having homeostasis, often then we're just there, and gratitude for what we have in our life, remembering what we have now that once we want it is so important, but it's really hard to sustain. It becomes familiar, and then we get depressed. And so the fulfillment that is really baked into the book is once you learn how to self-publish a book, once you hit a bestseller list, once you do the thing that you always wanted to do, learning from that experience, getting satisfaction from that experience, and then not getting stuck in the homeostasis of the arrival fallacy. Then you want to continue growing from there. So that's a little sub point. That's my 4th essential, but it's a little sub point of Robert Waldinger's different elements of happiness. And so arrival fallacy. Don't think once you get the thing, you will be happy. Bake happiness into the cake now, knowing that progressing towards the goal, looking forward to the goal, is actually supplying you with the happiness and the fulfillment that makes writing so much fun, so good. And then finally, The third ingredient, I'm breaking these down into a little bit, so I hope my delineation is working. I'll create a bit notes below so it's easy to follow my meaning here. You can just look at it if you get confused. But these three macro ingredients: enjoyment, satisfaction, and then the third one is meaning. What better to give our lives meaning than reflection, than art, than creativity? This is the fulfillment that grows on itself. So the Robert Waldinger's definition of meaning is a contribution, knowing your audience, knowing the experience you're contributing, knowing that you're putting something into the world that wouldn't be there if you didn't exist. You're the only person who can write your book. You know why you're including the themes that you include in your book. You know why you love reading the books like your book. You know why those other books, the authors in your community of writers, why they contribute to the world. And so being a part of that ecosystem of any genre, of any kind of book that gives you meaning, knowing your why behind your writing project, that is a key to sustainable fulfillment. And then fifth is what is the really surprising one that I think so many of us overlook, is hope. And so hope is so essential to fulfillment, to happiness, because if we think our best days are in the past, if we think there's no hope, there's no way I'm ever going to become a published author, I give up. Once we give up on one thing, we tend to give up at everything. I know that different pieces of my goals, the different things, my destination, the different things that I love to work on in my life, they make me exercise more. So I have more energy. They keep me healthy. They make me a better partner and a better mother. And so hope is so essential. Don't lose hope. Go after those goals, because the empowerment, the confidence, the hope you feel towards one project transfers and spreads to all the other projects. So I wanted to spend this week just doing a quick pick me up so that if you've strayed from your writing process, jump back in, get into it, because working on a book, working on your dreams contributes to everything. If you want an easy way to get started, every single Friday, I post a new video to keep you moving forward on your book. So be sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I also always give a bonus. The bonus this week is the free Writing and Yoga Staycation. So this is something I created during the pandemic when we were stuck in our house. I decided I wanted to do something creative along with a yoga pose every single day to help get me back into the regular practice. So if you want to enjoy your creative writing practice and get into a more spiritual and a deeper understanding of what a writing practice is, you can do the Writing and Yoga Staycation easily in your home, no matter what you have going on. So you can take a look. I created an itinerary for our Writing and Yoga Staycation. Get it right below. The link is there. It's absolutely free. And I can't hope you take some time to spend on your book this weekend. So much love. Talk soon.